Ezra Pound wrote a poem called In a Station Metro about the Paris train station. And he's trying to compare the experience of seeing all these people bundled together to sort of petals on a wet bough. And this is the entire poem, Ms. DeMarco.
The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bow.
Right, so if you ever have to memorize a poem, just pick this one, because it's only like 14 words long. But he started out much longer to this, and he just started reducing and reducing and reducing. And he reduced it so much that he actually took out the verb, right? There's no verb in that poem. But there is something that we've talked about before, Ms. DeMarco. Do you recognize that?
Zombie noun.
Yeah, it's a zombie noun. And so part of why I'm showing you this poem is the sense of I'm not against all zombie nouns. Zombie nouns can be really useful. They're particularly useful if you're labeling a bunch of information and putting it at the beginning of the sentence as a way to connect sort of old information to new information. They're also neat if you're trying to come up with a motto for Washington, D.C. on the license plate. Taxation without representation, right? That would be much worse if we wrote this, Mr. DeMarco.
We are taxed without being represented.
Right? It's not as catchy. So zombie nouns can be useful, but I just want to make you aware of them so you don't slip into them unconsciously and that you decide, is this a helpful place for an abstract noun, or should I switch to a verb? And to give you an idea of where it can be helpful to have an abstract noun, you can actually take an example from the unemployment insurance clinic with Steve Gray. So a couple of students recently put a brief together, and this was the original sentence, Mr. Nuxall.
But Ms. Turkel was denied the opportunity to be heard, and thus her due process rights were violated.
So this is the suggested edit, Mr. Nuxall.
But in violation of her due process rights, Ms. Turkel was denied the opportunity to be heard.
Right? So we take that verb violated and we put it at the beginning of the sentence in the form of a noun. And the reason we put it in the form of the noun is precisely so we can put it at the beginning of the sentence so we can end with opportunity to be heard. So what's neat about language is that you can switch their forms and then you can switch their order to decide which is going to be more powerful. And I'm not saying the rewrite is more powerful. I just want to get it in your heads that there's flexibility with language and that you can decide how you want to frame things.